If you've just joined us, you're watching Newslink on DSTV channel 403. Now, the independent panel of experts tasked with investigating the Phala Phala farm scandal is expected to hand over the report to Parliament tomorrow. They'll determine whether or not President Cyril Ramaphosa has a case to answer to and whether there are grounds for his impeachment. Let's get reaction to this matter now. Joining us is Mahlodi Muofhe, the former head of the State Security Agency's Domestic Intelligence Services. Mr. Muofhe is currently SA's ambassador to South Sudan. Advocate, good morning and thank you very much for your time. You've raised concerns around the handling of the Phala Phala matter, particularly your former colleague Arthur Fraser's conduct, suggesting that this has led to a violation of the president's rights. Talk to us about this.
Good morning, Fundo, and good morning to your viewers. Yes, it is more a concern to all of us as South Africans because I think we are gradually sliding towards disrespecting the rule of law. It has been happening, for some time now. I think it's important for us to sit back and say we've got to stick to the rule of law because that's the only institution we need to protect our democracy. And all I'm saying is that Arthur has all the rights to go and report a case at a police station like all of us do. But the rule of law says you cannot name the suspect openly up until such time that the NPA, which is constitutionally mandated by law, to decide whether it is proffering charges against the suspect and the suspect appears before our courts of law, it's only then that the name of the suspect can be pronounced. And I think this is all South Africans should take heed of. Because if we think that if the person who is perhaps reported by Arthur Fraser is because he's a president, then we must disrespect the law. I'm afraid we are veering towards killing our democracy.
But that position has now been overtaken by events because the president has even accounted or given some greater detail about the incident that occurred at his home, at his farm. So at this point, we are at the fact that indeed there was a robbery, there was foreign currency there, it was stored allegedly in the sofas. So where do you stand on that matter now that the president himself has somehow corroborated certain aspects of that allegation? So what is your view on the first citizen at least having had foreign currency stored in his farm?
Remember, due to public pressure, I suppose I haven't spoken with the president about this issue. I'm sticking to the law. That I think that in his position, he may have been compelled to say, let me come out on this thing. But it does not mean that if wrong events have overtaken us, we must proceed on that trajectory. Because in any event, in the future, this may come to haunt us. We run the risk of basically getting a mistrial on the facts that the person suspected to have committed any crime was not treated correctly in terms of our Constitution and in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act. That's all we should say. The only institution in our country which has a democratic right to pronounce on whether it is charging the suspect or the accused, if the accused is before the court, is the National Prosecuting Authority. And by all of us veering sideways for any other interest, we are putting our criminal justice system into disrepute because we are not allowing those tasked to investigate this matter in particular to do their job objectively.
All right, so you're opposed to the parallel processes like what we're seeing taking place in Parliament currently, because they would have felt like sitting ducks where they were not probing this matter and wanted to be seen to be holding the executive to account, and in this instance, the president. So are you opposed to those processes?
I'm not opposed to any processes. I'm saying we have a constitution which we all agreed that it is the best constitution in 1994, 96 when we adopted it. We have the rule of law, and the rule of law and our constitution say that we are all equal before the law. It does not matter who that person is. So, and that's my biggest fear now. And if there other, ancillary interest by interested people, we should at all times understand that our starting point begins with the law and ends with the law. It doesn't matter who the person is. And I think in this instance, our acting public protector actually came out and said that she's not going to make any pronouncement because those who are tasked by law to look at this issue are still busy investigating. And I think because she didn't resonate very well with the so-called public interest, that was not taken into account. I am not saying any other entity is not supposed to look at this matter, but I'm just saying that in terms of the law and our constitution, it is the NPA which can only make the pronouncement. The parliamentary issues, I'm not too sure. I don't know what are the terms of reference there, but there's no ways in which the parliamentary issues can come and make that determination. That for sure I can say, because our law enforcement agencies are not compelled. In fact, in terms of the law, they cannot even share with anybody their investigations. They can only do that with the prosecution. They investigate the hawks, the police, they'll investigate, and they will then give the docket to the prosecution. The prosecution at that point will make a determination whether it feels that the suspect or the accused has a case to answer.